Welcome to BSG Show, BSG. Hello, BSG fighters. Welcome back to another episode. This is season 6, episode 11, featuring a guest all the way from Kenya, Julie Auma, a yoga teacher, relationship developer, facilitator. As intended, I am going to transform your mind into a strong and positive mind. Before I dive into today's topic, I'd like all of you to know that my TikTok and YouTube community are different from my podcast community, so check out my videos on these platforms. Welcome, Julie. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good to hear your voice. Tell us more about yourself.
You already know I am a yoga teacher from Nairobi, Kenya. I like to define myself as a human figuring things out day by day.
Yes.
At the most basic level, that's what I am. In terms of the roles I play, different roles. I am an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
of course, being the Aus Yoga being my business. I am also the mother to a wonderful young lady called Maya.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, I am the wife to another wonderful gentleman called Jagero.
That's nice.
Yes, and you happen to share a name with my best friend,
Oh,
who's also
wow.
called Sharon. Yes, so
Oh,
shout out to
nice.
Sharon. I am the last one of the family of 4. So I must shout out to the lineage that got me here. My sister, big sister Lydia, big brother Mark, and the closest follower Debbie, and then finally myself. So that's how I ended up here.
Well, shout out to all of them.
Yes, yes.
Today's episode is titled Life's Pressure. And as
Mm-hmm.
usual, I will be sharing some top rules for success inspired by a highly successful person. Today's person is Warren Buffett. He's a businessman, investor, and a philanthropist. Number 1, be willing to be different. Number 2, know when to quit. Because he is my favorite, I'm going to be adding one more. Watch small expenses. So now let's dive into the topic of discussion. Julie, why do you think people put pressure on themselves?
There could be different reasons. For me, when I have felt that me putting pressure on myself, it started because of comparison. It was how the genesis was in my part, for me specifically, because I'm putting the milestones or what I expect to be milestones against somebody else's. For example, or like, we want to say that by age this, you need to have done 1, 2, 3. By age this, you need to have done 1, 2, 3. You need to have making sure that by the time you're in your early 20s, you've done your university education. You should be entering earlier 30s thinking about, your masters. You need to have this kind of job, this kind of relationship, this kind of thing happening. And so if that is the story that you have been told, or if that is what you're looking around you and seeing, and you're comparing and wondering, hey, what's wrong with me that I don't have these things that these other people are having? And so that can be a source of the pressure. At least in my case, that's what it was, because the time in my background, I hadn't attended university. So after leaving high school, I attended all of one day of a university class and orientation. After that, I started working immediately. So my trajectory in life was different from what I expected it to be.
Yes.
And so when I was seeing these differences and why is this hard for me and guys are having an easy time over there, I was like, for me, in my past, that's where the pressure came from, because I was like, hey, I need to have gotten 1, 2, 3 things, and these opportunities haven't come, or I haven't gotten them, and that's where the pressure started.
Beautifully said. And that's so true. One of the reasons why we put so much pressure on ourselves is because of comparison. I don't know how many people have heard this, but everybody's life journey is different. We are all not on the same path. I love what you said at the beginning when you were introducing yourself. You said that I'm still figuring out my life, still, discovering who I am as a person and trying new things. Most people would have thought that, you need to have everything figured out. In your 20s or your 30s, undergoing a training.
Mhm.
And there's a 59-year-old man who is still trying to figure out what to do with his life. He has a trajectory. He has like a path, like he has worked in place and that place, but he's still figuring life out. And I watch, people around me. There's nothing like you actually figure it out. You always try new things and you thought you liked this, and then one day you just wake up and it changes.
Yeah, you
And
discover different new
yeah, you
things. Yeah.
discover new things and it's perfectly fine. And one thing I've realized is that it's not that there's something wrong with you, but it's just that your path is different. It's not like the universe doesn't like you or you just keep
Yeah.
failing at things. No, it's just that your life journey is just supposed to be different and you've got to embrace it and not fall for the systems of this world.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, sometimes we imagine we have greater control than we do. I think one of the things that, at least for me, that has humbled me is to understand understand that we have this illusion of control that can direct things the way I want it to go. And in some cases, you do have that power. I also don't want to rob people and make them think they're completely powerless in their situation. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like we need to figure out where that humility level, where that comfort level is, where you know, I only have X amount of control on this thing. For example, I might say I can control my emotions right now. Even that sometimes is not even there. But for most cases, let's say, okay, for example, I'm having a very healthy brain chemistry and I have some level of control of my emotions. Let's imagine that. And so that is a very big and can be a very small way of thinking about the level of control we can exert upon our lives. And I had somebody say it so well that you can only do what you can with what you have when you have it. And that is why, especially even like, it's something that we focus a lot even in yoga, in the philosophy of yoga. It is very much a focus on the present. Whatever has passed, whatever is coming, those things don't exist. We have a recollection of them, our memories, our traumas. We have a recollection of them. And we have our hopes, our dreams, our goals for the future. Yes. But in an actual real moment right now, all that is there is right now. That is the only tangible, physical, feelable thing that is there. And that is why it's important for us to focus on the present, because even in the present, the little amount of control you have or the little amount of opportunity you have, you can only take it at that time. If the opportunity has not presented itself, you may like to have the opportunity, but it has not yet presented itself. So you cannot really influence it. You can only influence the present in alignment with what you want to have happen.
These are gems. Wow. I love the explanation. I even love how you spoke about control, because that is one of the things most of us are struggling with. We feel like we have so much control.
Then everything would work exactly the way we want it to work when we want it to work. And that's not the case. At least anyway, sometimes it hasn't been the case for me.
And the beautiful thing is that it always works together for your good in the long run.
True, I believe so.
You'll always be happy that I'm so happy it didn't work this way.
When you're looking back, you're like, oh, thank God this thing didn't happen. Thank God this thing happened. You know, it was only when you have that option of looking back at it. It's like when people are playing a game of checkers, you're like, you see all the moves and you're outside the game, but when you're in the game, you can't see that move.
It brings me back to 2019. I applied to go to China because I did my bachelor's degree in economics and Chinese.
Oh, wow.
So the first one, I got accepted, but something happened and I didn't go. The second time, I didn't get through because of, I don't know, whatever reason. Then that same year, 2019 December, that's when COVID broke out.
Wow. That was a difficult time, yeah?
I'm sure I would have been depressed. I'm sure it would have taken a toll on me. As you said, people who stand outside the chess, they see better than the people who are playing the chess.
Who are playing
That's
it
the same
sometimes.
way God that is standing outside of your life can see better than you that is in your life.
Saying, let me remove this one before things go.
Exactly. I really like that analogy that you use. It's a very good one. As a yoga teacher, what are some activities a person can do to feel relaxed?
Well, okay, you know, I am biased because I am a yoga teacher, so I believe all of us should be practicing yoga. You know, when something has worked well for me, you know, and it's working, you want to spread the word and tell everyone, do this thing, it worked for me.
Yes.
I also like to go a bit behind on your question. Like, even before we start on the yoga activities, it's also to remove a suspicion. I feel like a lot of people are very suspicious of yoga. And
they feel like it's something from underground or from the demonic world.
They don't understand it. They're very suspicious of it. They're just like, what's going on over there? Number one, if you do want to try these different activities and these different practices in yoga, you are welcome to, because again, only your life experiences can build the life you want.
That's true.
And then two, if you want to continue learning about it, I would say do your research. I always tell people, do your research, find out for yourself, test your assumptions. In fact, the other day we were watching The Social Dilemma, and in there I was talking about like the whole thing of social media, but there was a lady there who said something very interesting towards the end, and she was like, whenever she's online, she actively seeks or follows people who she disagrees with. Of course, to the level you're doing this in a situation where you're not putting your own mental health at risk, of course. Find out, like, the people who are saying yoga is the way, what is it about that they're saying the way? And then you make your own decision so that you can be at peace with whatever decision you are making. Two, to approach yoga and the kind of practices you can do just for your own, let's say for maintenance, let's call it maintenance, because not all of us are trying to look for enlightenment. Not all of us want to get to the point of, some of us are just trying to get through Tuesday.
Exactly.
Some of us just want to go to Chama tomorrow and just not feel like you're overwhelmed. I would say it starts from the beginning, and the beginning is with breath. breath. Breath
Yes.
is such a downplayed but a very important and integral part in every religion, in every society. We always talk about the breath of life. We talk about the importance of breath and how it affects every part of our lives. And I think that's not by accident. And in yoga, when the practice of breath control or breath manipulation is called pranayama, it's in the Sanskrit, if I'm saying that correctly. And that essentially means it's almost like saying a life force. So basically, you're controlling the life force that is moving through your body by manipulating the breath in different ways. And so in yoga, you will find, or in yoga and meditation, or even breath work, you will find many different breathing techniques.
Yeah.
So one is actually breath. In fact, let's do that right now. If you're listening to this podcast, and also Sharon, I'll invite you to. Eyes open, close, that's up to you. Sit comfortably where your spine is somehow straight, your shoulders are relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Yes. And then take a few breaths, just your normal breaths. You're not doing anything to it. You're just observing your breath. And so you're taking a few breaths. Don't rush it. Don't try to change it. It's almost like you're watching a movie of your breath. Let's call it that, as it is moving in and out through your body. So let's do that for a few seconds. Okay, good. So once you're noticing your breath, you can now play around with it a bit. Maybe inhale a little bit longer and exhale a little bit longer, and just stay with that. Again, shoulders are relaxed. Your back is fairly straight. Stay with your breath. Let's count 5 breaths. So every inhale and exhale, the pair is 1 breath. So let's do 5. Okay, very good. So even that, taking that time to do that for yourself, wherever you are, that's already a
Feel
practice.
good.
Good.
I
So that's
feel
already a
good.
practice you can incorporate.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, thank you so much. You know what's funny for me? If people can comprehend, I said, hey, I'm speaking French. I'm mixing French with English.
You know,
Oh,
it's very
Lord have
funny because
mercy.
I am learning French on Duolingo. So my Duolingo is just looking at me, giving me the side eye.
If people can understand and speak in tongues and they don't see those things as whoa, like why would you see yoga as something very bizarre? Because sometimes, like when I used to go to church, people are falling on the floor and rolling. That one you don't see it as anything.
And
But
it's supposed to
yoga
be
that they
just
say
very
sit
normal.
down.
People are
Oh,
just shaking
yoga,
and
yes, but yoga that don't say sit down and just breathe. That one is spiritual.
they're like,
That
something
one
is
is demonic. Oh Lord. Yeah, like the human brain is very funny. That's why I believe in the power of the mind. Because it's what you tell your mind to accept as the truth that it would accept as the truth.
It's very strange that you would say, like what you're saying, what you've been exposed to for the longer part of it is the one you will believe. So if you're told anything that doesn't sound the same, of course, I can understand your initial reaction will be to resist, and that's a very normal reaction, which is fine. Also, by the way, if you realize that by the yoga is not for me, it is fine. It well and good. At least make that decision for yourself and don't push it
For
on
yourself.
others. Because I think the mistake we make is that if I am uncomfortable with something, I make it everyone's business for them to be uncomfortable with this thing.
Let me tell you why people like that do that. Because they're not sure of their decision. So let's say, for example, I'm so comfortable in my spirituality. I'm so comfortable with my practice of gratitude. That's how I live. That's how I pray. That's how I communicate with God. When I'm speaking to somebody else and the person tells me, I'm a Muslim, I pray 5 times a day, or I'm a Christian, this is how I pray, I wake up at midnight. I go like, wow, that's great. I don't push my beliefs or how I pray on them.
Yeah.
But once I tell them about my way of praying, then they want to push their ideologies and what they believe to be true on me because they are not sure. I am
That's
at peace with
interesting
myself.
too.
If they were at peace with themselves, they wouldn't want to push it on other people. So they are always searching for something and they can't believe that you have found that peace that is already in the
Without
Bible. That's about you get it. And they're like, oh, why are you so comfortable? Why is everything moving on in your life like this? But you don't do what I was told for
must
years you're
do to
supposed
reach
to
this
do.
thing.
Exactly.
No, that's true. Something else I also want to encourage people. Yes, like take your time, find out for yourself certain things.
Yes.
And then also, if you have a resistance to something, let's say, okay, let's take yoga for example. You're like, hey, this thing, it's not for me, and you have a resistance to it.
Yes.
Whatever it is, because again, people have their own reasons. Maybe they had a really bad experience. Very
Maybe.
possible. And they're like, okay, because of this, I know yoga is not for me. Well and good. However, just because it is not for you doesn't mean it is not for
Not
others.
for the next person.
So
You're
it is
right.
okay to say that for me, yoga did not work for me. I cannot now make a blanket statement and say yoga is bad. You see?
The world is diverse. Do you know, I feel like all these things that even exist in this world, these differences, this diversity, different cultures, different religions, different colors, different races, different countries, they were there so that we wouldn't get bored of the world, but people are using it against each other and being condescending and want to be superior over each other. Do you get it? I don't see the essence in it. Do you know, there are even sometimes where I listen to Muslim music, or I can listen to maybe a Buddhist, saying something, or a monk saying something. I'm just intrigued with the diversity of the world, and not secluding myself to one thing because I believe that, this is not for me. If this doesn't work for me, you would see it working for another person full time, and the person is enjoying their life.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. There's a lot of peace and a lot of power that comes from acknowledging somebody as a whole person. Because again, this is why I respect atheists a lot. And I know this sounds wrong, but when you're looking at all these different things, whether it is yoga, whether it is the issues of race, whether it is the issues of religion, of all these things, I think, again, I don't know where I remember seeing this or reading this. The greatest deception is believing that we are somehow separate. That somehow that there is a very big difference between the fact that your skin is this way and somebody else's skin is that way. And like deep down, go layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, you'll find a lot of the same things. And yes, we can be socialized. Of course, there are all these other factors. People are socialized and people are living in certain environments, and there's traumas and there's good stuff, there's bad stuff. All of that is in this one big pot that is creating this person. And there are so many, everyone has their own recipe of what that looks like, whatever that is making them looks like. And so you need to acknowledge that, hey, I can understand why you are uncomfortable with this thing, but your discomfort with it does not now mean that you now set rules and tell me, no, because I am uncomfortable, you are the one with the problem. No, if you're uncomfortable, please remove yourself from the equation, leave space for that person to be themselves. We don't necessarily have to agree, but we must treat people with a baseline of respect, a baseline of dignity, a baseline of just like that humanity, or that basicness of like, okay, you're a human like I am. And so, let us treat each other with that, at least with that baseline. Even if we disagree with everything else, that at least we can agree on.
You're right. Are you ready for the comfort break question? Comfort break question! The comfort break question for today is, what song brings back childhood memories?
Wow, which song brings back childhood memories? Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. It's not even a song, it's a jingle. It was on an advert. Yeah, there's this advert. It was, and they do the adverts, it's on radio, it's on TV, it's everywhere. And it was for this cough syrup. It was called Good Morning Cough Syrup.
Sing it for us.
And you could tell the person singing it was also not happy. Good morning, good morning. So sometimes, even when I wake up, I'm like, if I'm not feeling like it's a good morning, I tell myself, good morning, good morning. So it always brings back good memories because, yes, you're not having a morning that's too good. If you take this thing, at least the morning will be good for you. Because, it will get rid of the sore throat and all the problems you have. And now you have a very good morning and the rest of a good day.
That's interesting.
That's the first one that came to mind.
Mine is, no matter what I do, all I think about is you. Even when I'm with my boo. Because I was in primary 1, and there was this guy that was in a higher level. I was in primary 1, and let's say he was in grade 9 or grade 10. And I was crushing on him.
You are just seeing love.
With somebody who was like 11 years older than me. What did I know about love at 6 years old? But I was still crushing. I can still remember till this day.
This is what Nelly was trying to communicate. Oh my goodness.
But that's a good
so
one.
Random.
I know, very random. Okay. So now we are moving back to our question. How does one keep calm in spite of life's demands?
Let me question the premise of that question. Why should you keep calm?
You can train yourself on how to not take things too personal. Know how to focus on your goals. Don't be too excited. Try to find balance between your excitement, your joys, and your sadness.
I would question that by saying, let me play devil's advocate. I feel like that is actually bordering on dysfunction. This is why I'm saying that.
Tell me.
I feel that, personally speaking, this is me, you shouldn't have to be just on a very even keel all the time. And this is why I'm saying that.
Tell me.
For every action, there's an opposite and equal
Opposite
reaction.
and equal reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, the laws of nature that are around us.
Yes.
Seasons change. It's sometimes hot, it's sometimes cold. And for you to enjoy the cold, you need to have the hot, blah, blah, blah. All those things, they move. The question isn't necessarily about how to remain calm, but how can you keep, or rather maintain, a healthy level of change between these emotions so that you don't go all to the extreme side of things.
Yeah.
Because if something has made you excitable and happy and joyful, that's not the time to be calm, is it?
Yes, that's true.
If something
That's
is
true.
very sad and shaky and really terrible, that's also not the time to be calm.
Time to be calm.
But you also don't want to stay in a constant state of excitement, nor do you want to stay in a constant state of the downtime as well.
Yeah.
What is a healthy flow or a healthy fluctuation within your emotions to help you navigate what is there? I think is more the question.
That's a good one.
That's also sometimes why we have such a resistance to emotions and we don't allow ourselves to feel the emotions. There's one of my friends, and she's a colleague, and she does work with trauma-informed yoga. Shout out to Nyakinywa. There's always something that says to feel your feelings, because they're there for a reason. They are telling you something about the situation you are in. They're telling you something about the environment you are in. That's why when you go to add something hot, you're like, no, that's too hot for me to. I need to do 1, 2, 3 things to approach this hot thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel it's the same with our emotions. And it's important for us to allow ourselves to have those ranges of emotions, to know that, hey, if this is crying time, cry, finish it, then move to the next one. So that we're not moving to these extremes. When we suppress too much, we also have to go to an extreme, because that suppression is an extremity in and of itself. And I feel it's important for us to know that we have range. We have variety of emotions we are capable of feeling and expressing. It is possible to find a healthy level to navigate those emotions when they come. So if you're in a situation right now that is tough and you feel like excuse my language, if you feel like shit right now, okay, feel like shit for a moment and say, okay, this is a shit moment. And then now I can come up and say, okay, now I felt like this is the emotion that is there. I can now move to a different emotion that better helps me do what I need to do in this situation. But the moment we run away and we resist, that is where we start causing problems.
Yeah.
And so
Spot on.
one of the ways we can try and find that balance between the many different emotions, the many different issues that are coming up, again, is to check in with yourself and to check in with the tools you have for yourself, your body. How are you feeling? Are you letting the emotions come through and pass and go? Are you holding on to something? Are you being present in the moment so that you know what to do? And then be in that feeling first, and then now allow it to pass through, to process through. I mean, in every other case, we always say that things must be processed through.
Yes.
You eat something, it's processed through. Information comes in, it's processed through. There is something that must happen for the next step in the process to happen. So you also need to hand over that and have that turnover of emotions, and also for them to be kept at an even level.
Can you tell us any life lesson you live by?
Treat ourselves with a certain level of grace. One, I think that's important. We are our first enemies somehow, sometimes. But at the same time, hold yourself accountable to yourself. And what I mean is that you feel unstable or unsettled in your heart because of something you're doing to yourself. You can change that narrative. My advice in life is that you have agency to treat yourself with grace, to treat yourself with compassion, but still hold yourself accountable. We need to start operating like that so that we can grow ourselves to what our highest selves are. But also in the meantime, as you know, as a child who is learning to walk, when you're falling, it's not because that you like falling. It's because like, hey, I need to practice walking until I get better at it so I don't fall as much as I was falling last week, last month. That's what I'll say.
Thank you so much, Julie. This has been a handful. So before we go, I'll be going over the top rules inspired by Warren Buffett, a businessman, investor, and a philanthropist. Be willing to be different. It's okay for you to be different. Don't try to fit in. Number 2, know when to quit. People are like, oh, I'm going to push through. Just know when to quit. It's okay to
When
quit.
it is no longer for you, please remove yourself immediately.
And then finally, watch small expenses. I have seen like a huge amount of money in my bank account, and I'll just go to the supermarket and buy, oh, maybe 50 euros, oh, 10 euros, oh, 5 euros. Before you realize the money goes down. So
Maybe
please
I agree
listen to
with you
my
on that. Not only look
listen,
out for it, track your expenses. Yes,
track your
track them.
expenses. Yes, you have to.
For the Kenyans listening, they will understand. If you have 1,000 shilling note, the moment it goes to less than like even if you buy something for 10 shilling, like 990, somehow that money just disappears somewhere. Our highest denomination is around for 1,000. So if you just notice, I've already broken this 1,000, trouble is on the way.
Kindly leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed this episode, which I'm sure is going to be one of the best episodes on this podcast. Thank you very much for listening. I love you as much as you love yourself. Until next episode, bye.
Bye.
You have got a strong and positive